them allowing us to come in, getting some cattle for us that they buy in, for us to be able to come out here and do this, and you guys to be able to learn. The event today is also going to be broadcasted on Facebook and YouTube. So ag teachers, 4-H leaders, you guys will have that as a learning opportunity to be able to go back and watch later after the contest. So we appreciate them doing that for us. Want to thank Coy and all the crew that he's got here working around. If you see those guys later, please be sure to tell them thank you. We sincerely appreciate them and couldn't do it without them. Farm Credit Associations of Oklahoma, we appreciate their sponsorship. They're helping provide an awesome lunch today. We're able to do this all for free because of sponsorships with both AFR and all of our other sponsors. So you guys may not even be aware of the amount of entry fees that all these contests take, but we're proud to be able to do this so that you guys can go to more contests, have other events that you can spend your chapter money on that you guys work hard to fundraise. Oklahoma Certified Beef Association is a sponsor for some of our awards today as well. And so thank them for their sponsorship and their dedication to youth programs. If there's some of you guys standing around, I think there may be just a few seats left open to make sure that everybody's got a seat where you can see along the way. Make sure you are not sitting by somebody from your team or somebody that you are going to be tempted to talk to. We want to make sure that we are being rewarded on our own merits today. So please do your own work and don't be sitting by somebody that you shouldn't be, and stay off your phones. We do have lots of great prizes and awards that we'll give out at the end. I've got some scholarships as well. I don't have certificates for all those today, but we will get those coordinated with your ag teachers and 4-H leaders at the end of the day and get information for those. I'd like everybody to please take a look at your Scantron that's in front of you. Please make sure that you should have your name bubbled in as well as your 4-digit team number. That should either be your FFA chapter number or your 4-H county code. Then you should also have a 2-digit code bubbled in. Please make sure that that is bubbled in or you may not get a score today if your code or team number are not bubbled in. If you are an adult in the adult contest, you do not need to bubble in a team or a code. If you did, that's fine, but you do not have to. We just need your name. But please write adult up under the team name box so we can sort those out. When we collect cards, we will collect those by 4-H or FFA or adult division to help tabulation go a little bit faster, so please pay attention. If you don't know what category you're in, please ask. If you're FFA, your 4-digit team number should all start with a 0 in the thousands place. If you're 4-H, it probably starts with a 1 unless you used your FFA code. Again, very excited to have you guys all here. I want to thank ODAF staff for being here. Jason, Brady, and Tino, couldn't do it without them. Appreciate their expertise and their willingness to come spend a Friday with you guys out here. And so without any further ado, I'll turn it over to them. We'll get started with the school. And please make sure when you guys get done, we've got an awesome meal. We'd love for you guys to stay and join us as we tabulate. And we plan to have awards handed out shortly after we conclude the contest.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. As many of you have done this before, know that we're going to kind of start off with a school here where we've got 2 examples of our feeder cattle, which I'm going to kind of talk about and go over with those that may be doing this for the first time or may need a refresher since probably October in Tulsa is probably the last time most of us have looked at a card and done some cattle grading. So what we have is we're going to kind of, if you'll look at your card, you'll see kind of there are feeder grades that we're going to look at with these 2 animals. We've got kind of your determination of a feeder steer and feeder heifer that you must do. Then also move to the frame size of a large, medium, and small. And then the last determination is your muscling of a 1, 2, 3, or 4. Down in the bottom right-hand portion of your card is some helpful hints or tips that we have. You'll see there you've got feeder grades down at the bottom where you'll see kind of a little chart there that has large, medium, and small. If you look there, you'll see there's some differences between steers and heifers, and that is one of the reasons that it's important that we determine that it's a feeder steer, feeder heifer, and not just a feeder calf. Whenever we're looking at the frame size in these animals, what we're going to try and do is look at them here live on the hoof today and then determine where they are going to end up at the end of their life cycle whenever they go to the processing facility and hang on the rail. USDA has established some standards, as you can kind of see, for a feeder steer. Whenever they go to the rail and hang, in order for them to be able to grade and in order for them to be considered a large frame animal, they must weigh 1,250 pounds or more. For a heifer, we know that the heifers and females, they mature quicker, and they don't have to weigh quite as much as what the steers do. That's what for a heifer to be a large frame, she just has to be 1,150 at time of slaughter for her to be in that category. Medium frame animals are from steers are 1,100 to 1,250 pounds. For heifers, as you can see, are 1,000 to 1,150, and for small frame animals, for steers, they're anything under 1,100 pounds, and then heifers are anything 1,000 pounds and under. And so what we're looking at is, or whenever kind of Brady and Tina and I are kind of picking out these cattle, some of the things that we're going to look at is, where is this animal at right now in their kind of life in terms of their maturity. And so there's some things that we look at whenever we start looking at cattle to try and tell us how old are they right now. You all have probably heard me say this before, that cattle are like humans. As they're younger, they're going to put all of the feed and their energy goes into growing and getting taller and bigger. At some point in their life cycle, just like us, we stop growing taller and then we start putting on weight and getting bigger. And we don't grow much taller at that point. And so some of the things that we look at is, we know that with cattle, that tail or the twitch of that tail, that continues to grow as they get older. So whenever you're looking, the longer the tail that they have, that's going to give you a pretty good indicator that that animal has got some age to it. Also, if you look at their head, as a younger calf is more flat between the eyes. Those that, as they get older, that muzzle gets longer. They also get a little bit more dished out in between their eyeballs. With some of our genetics now, you don't see as many cattle with horns. If there are horns or evidence of scurs there that you can see, as they get older, that base of the horn continues to grow. So those are some of the things that we're going to look at whenever we're trying to look at kind of how old is the animal that we're looking at now, and then how much ability do they have to then go on and continue to grow and then put on fat and weight once they go to the feed yard and then on to the processing facility to hang on the rail. Hopefully you can see that there is a little bit of difference in the age of the two animals that we have here in the ring. The red animal has got his tail is definitely considerably longer Also, whenever you look at those two animals in their, the heads, the black steer here looking at us, that's what that muzzle's not quite as long. It's not quite as dished out in between those eyes that you can see. So that tells us that the black calf has got he's just a little bit more youthful. Not a whole lot, but he is just a little bit younger in his makeup. So whenever we're looking at him, we'll kind of just start off with the black steer. He's one that some of the things that I'm going to look at is the length of leg. How long of a leg do they have? How long of body? Length of neck. Some of those things, because whenever we're looking down there at that weight, all of these, a longer body, a taller body, longer neck. All of those are abilities to put on more or to carry more meat, muscle, fat, to add more weight to that carcass. So the more they can carry, the heavier they're going to be. So whenever I'm looking at him, we have him in the top of the medium frame grade. If you look at him, he's pretty flat across his back. From that, you look at his front legs. Both of these calves, they're not extremely heavy boned animals, but they're not fine boned either. But so bone is kind of adequate and a wash on both of these. But if you look at him, his length of leg, he's not that long of legged of an animal. So that is one that we look at him. And then also kind of from that hip up to his shoulders is one that whenever we're looking at him, he's definitely, as you can kind of see there, whenever they're standing kind of next to each other, the red steer is definitely taller. He's longer bodied. He's older, as we talked about, but the black steer is just one that we think that he's going to be probably about that 1,230 pounds. He's going to be right there close to the large frame grade, but we just think that whenever you're looking at him, he's not quite as big and not going to have enough capacity to put on that much weight. Where and we'll get to talking about muscle here in a minute, but he is a little bit heavier muscled, and that is what's helping him get a little bit higher and closer to the large frame grade. But if he was not as thick and heavy muscled, he would be a few notches down into the medium frame grade. The red steer that we're looking at, as we said, he has got some age to him, more than the black steer. But I think he's taller, he's longer bodied, and another thing that we kind of look at is we know genetics and breed comes into play here, because we know that there's just some cattle that are going to be just bigger framed and bigger animals than what other breeds may be. And so that's what I think that you look at him, kind of look at his head, kind of look at, he's carrying just a little bit of navel there. We, in the back, whenever we were kind of talking him last night and this morning, we think that there's some type of that Brahma influence somewhere in the family tree here somewhere. I don't think he's full blood, either Red Angus or Limousine or whatever that's with the red there. But I think that you've got a little bit of that navel, and then also you look at his head. We just think that there's some type of Brahman influence that is coming out in there. We know, whenever you think of Brahman cattle, that they are, taller, leggier, and kind of a larger frame. With that, we've got him about 30% up into the large frame category. We think that, he's going to be somewhere probably around that, close to 1,300 pounds. At time of slaughter, whenever you look at him here today, I think that's going to be close to his point, is close to that 1,300 pound mark. So that would put him about 30% up into that large frame grade. So we've tried to give you two animals here that is one. It's kind of on the not on the edge, but just a little bit over into the large frame grade. Also gave you one there that is a example of an animal that's going to be kind of in the upper portion of the medium frame grade. So you can kind of see and determine, whenever you see animals in here in the ring later on, there's going to be a lot that are going to be somewhat similar to this, but there's some differences. So we just thought we'd kind of use these two as examples of where we saw them and what we did with them on our cards. So next step is looking at muscling, and as I said earlier, you've got 4 different options or opportunities to make a mark there. 1 being the best, 4 being the least in muscling. Whenever I kind of talk and explain this, I always use the shapes and things to get my point across. With a number 1 animal is one that is going to be your thickest animal. Whenever you're looking either at a side view from the profile, or whenever you're looking at them from the back, you're going to see whenever you're coming over that tail head there on that round, kind of on the rear end, you're going to see some shape. There's going to be some roundness and bulge, kind of look like a beach ball or basketball that's there. So you're going to see that coming off of them, and also they've got to carry that all the way down through that lower kind of the stifle all the way down. Just because they have just a little bit of round at the top of the tail head does not necessarily mean that they're going to be a number 1 animal. Number 2 animal is one that's going to be a little bit more square or rectangular in their muscle shape. Whenever you kind of get in behind them and look, you're just going to they're going to be a little bit more flatter in that muscle shape. And then a number 3 is step down from that is one that they get to be, at the top of that tail head up around their hips. That's going to be kind of their widest point. They're going to have a little bit more of that angular or triangle look to them, where they're kind of slanting in or slanting down, depending on where you're looking at. And as I always say, you need to look, more muscling there in the back, and as they carry them down, those legs at their hocks and at their feet, that muscling is going to keep those spread apart. The lack of muscling is going to allow those legs to come in and be a little bit more narrower. Those back feet may be kind of clicking or touching, or even their hocks rubbing together whenever we start looking into that number 3 or a number 4 muscled animal. So those are some of the things that we look at. A number 4 animal is one that I've never really seen a number 4 animal. There was one that was very, very close one time, but I've been doing this for quite a while and still have not seen a number 4. There probably is one out there, but more than likely they're probably not very healthy and want to bring one into this type of a situation and all. But they are going to be extremely narrow and thin back there in that hindquarter region. So we started off with that black steer in the talking frame. We'll start off with him on muscling. I think that if you look at him, hopefully you can tell that there's a difference between his muscle and the shape of his round compared to the red steer. The black steer has got some shape, a little bit of that curvature. He carries that down through the lower portion of that stifle. He also, whenever you look at him, he carries some of that muscling on up in his shoulders and also in his kind of on up through his body there. But he's not extremely heavy muscled, but I think that there is enough muscling there. We have him about 20% up into the number 1 grade. So not just an extremely heavy muscled calf, but I think that there's enough curvature and muscling there to get him into the lower portion of a number 1 grade. The red steer is one that whenever you look at him, well, Dawson, if you can move him or maybe there in front where people can kind of see him. That's what, whenever you see him, he's just kind of what I always like to say is kind of like a flat muscle. That's what there's not a lot of curvature there. He's also, whenever you get down kind of in that middle portion of that stifle region, he starts to narrow up and does not carry that thickness all the way through. We've got him kind of in the kind of a upper portion of a number 2, and so we tried to give you some cattle that were kind of close on the line to 1 and 2s and large and medium, just so you can kind of see. There's going to be some differences that we have here today, but those are just some examples that try and get your eyes seeing what we saw out there last evening whenever we were picking them out, and again this morning whenever we regraded everything here. So the red steer was a large frame in the lower third of a large, in the upper portion of a number 2. The black steer was in the upper portion of the medium frame grade and the lower third of a number 1 muscled animal. Is there any questions dealing with feeder cattle? All right, we can let these 2 out, and we've got 2 cows that Tina is going to talk about.
I was going to say, there's a few spots that are open here. If any of y'all standing up there want to sit down, I don't know if maybe those are your schoolmates or whatever, but it might be easier for you to see, but if you don't want to, that's fine too. I'm going to talk about slaughter cows and how we evaluate slaughter cows. So unlike feeder cattle, where you're having to estimate where they're going to be at the time of slaughter, cows are going directly to slaughter. And most important thing that we're looking at is how much fat is that cow carrying. We're also looking at muscle shape, and then of course the size, how big they are. But the most important thing, and the thing that you got to get, is how much back fat they're carrying. Where do we look for fat on these cows? So we're looking over the top of their back, around their tail head, around their ribs, front shoulder blades, and through their brisket. How much flank are they kicking? When we grade slaughter cows, we have 3 different grades that we use. It's a breaker, a boner, and a lean cow. The breaker cow is the fleshiest cow that we see down here. We do have a premium grade, but we don't, those cows come out of the feed yard, and we don't do that here. So the heaviest flesh cow that you're going to see is a breaker cow. A breaker cow is going to be flat over her top, going to have quite a bit of fat around her tail head, no evidence of bone. She's going to be smooth across her ribs. You won't see any blade action in her shoulders, and she's definitely going to have brisket. That's kind of what sets her apart from any other grade in the categories. She does have that full brisket. On the other side, we have the lean cow. And just opposite of a breaker cow, you do see quite a bit of bone. Her backbone might be standing up. She could be dished out in her rounds, even over the top of her loin. You definitely see rib shape. As she walks in her front shoulder, you'll see that blade action in her shoulder. Definitely no brisket whatsoever. So she's quite a bit more rigid bone shape. What's more difficult is the one in the middle, and that's the boner cow. And you know, in Oklahoma, we typically see more boner cows, but when you go into the springtime and a lot of these cows coming off of wheat, you're going to see more of these fleshier breaker types. But a boner cow is just going to have a light covering of flesh over her. You do still kind of see evidence of bone shape, but it's kind of like she's got a little soft covering, excuse me, of bone, of flesh. She's not quite starting a brisket, but you might see one not quite the size of your fist. You'll see still a little bit of rib shape and not quite the fat around her tail head. She might just start getting a little bit of fat, but not quite enough. So we have the breaker, the boner, and the lean cow. The last thing that we talk about is their muscle shape. And it's a lot like feeder cattle. So, you know, we have thick, average, and thin. So a thick muscled cow is going to have that beach ball look. She's going to be very rounded in her rear view, where the widest part is down about midway of those rounds. A average muscled cow is going to be more rectangular in her shape, where there's no definite thicker point from top all the way to the bottom of those rounds. And then the thin muscle-shaped cow is going to be more inverted triangle, where the thickest point is at the very top, and you see that inverted triangle as that muscle drops off down to the bottom of those rounds. Weight on the cow, you know, the bigger they are, we tend to assume that that's more flesh. And that kind of, you know, will bump them up as far as dressing percent goes. The lighter they are, it's less flesh, less muscle, less things like that. And that gets me into dressing percent, which is the last thing that we talk about. Cows in average field condition will dress anywhere from 45 to 54%. So the fleshier a cow is, the bigger she is, the heavier muscled she is, the more she's going to dress. Conversely, the lighter flesh she is, the less muscle she has, and the lighter weight she is, then the less she's going to dress. Dressing percent comes from a carcass weight divided by live weight, and that's where you get your dressing percent. So you have to think, you know, when that cow's, you know, hanging in the slaughter plant, what's left? And what adds to dressing percent, you know, and like I said, heavy muscled cow is going to add to dressing percent. So you need to think about that. Am I putting this cow in thick category? Well, maybe I should bump her up a little for dressing percent. Or I've got her in thin muscled category. Maybe I should think of backing off that dressing percent a little bit. Or she comes in and she's pretty tanked up, or she's got a big, you know, irregular bag on her or udder. Those things take away from dressing percent. If she's a lighter weight cow, meaning less than 100 pounds, she's not going to dress quite as much as one that might weigh 1,400 pounds. So all those things add up when you're thinking about your dressing percent. Now remember, if you get it right, dressing percent, that's 10 points. If you miss it one either way, you're still going to get 7 points. If you miss it two either way, you still get 5 points. And then if you miss that dressing percent by 3, you'll still get 3 points. Did I miss anything? Oh, did I say under 100 on these cows? I hope we don't have a 100-pound cow, but it's under 1,000 pounds. You need to think about adjusting your dressing percent a little lower. I did see, you know, on your lean cows, it shows your, you do have quite a big category there as far as dressing percent goes. And that when you get down to a cow that's dressing 38, 39%, that is a really lightweight cow, and she's really just a shell of a cow. She really doesn't have much on her. A lot of those cows tend to not go in our market reports just because by the time they get down that thin and that shelly, they're really not worth that much anymore. I mean, it costs a lot to ship these cows and kill them, process them, and they're really not worth that much. So when you get down to a 38, 40% cow, she's pretty shelly cow. Does anybody have any questions on the slaughter cow portion? Okay, let's grade what we've got in the ring here, and I'm going to start with the smallest one here. She does have quite a bit of hair, and remember, you know, you got to compensate for what you see, and I think we see a lot of hair on this cow, and it actually makes her look better than what she is. I think it kind of looks like, this is the reason we put this cow in the school. So if you're just looking at her over the top of her round, she kind of looks like she has, to me, 2/10 back fat. She's pretty smooth right there, but then when you come up over the top of her back, over her shelf loin, you start to see some bone, and you kind of get into that rigid bone shape that I talked about. She throws quite a bit of that shoulder blade as she walks and doesn't really have as much fat when you come up to the front of the cow. Remember, you've got to compensate for the whole cow, not just the half in the back and say, oh dang, she's really fat back here. Well, what about the front? So we kind of average the whole cow, and this is the kind of cow that we kind of think we would put at 1800s. Now that's why, and that's another reason that we didn't put her in the contest. We've got her at 1800, so that kind of puts her in between that 83 to 84% lean on your card. So I've got her at 83 and a half. We'll always give you the weight on these cows, so don't miss that, marking your slaughter cow. She weighs 1,000 pounds, and that's an adjustment of plus 0.8. Remember, when we adjust up and down with the weight, again, like we said, these smaller cows, the reason that her adjustment went up for the weight is because we think the lighter she is, the more lean she's going to be. The heavier the cow is, the less lean red meat is going to be available. So we're adjusting her a plus 0.8. Her muscle shape looks kind of starting to get into that triangular shape where the top of her rounds is wider than the bottom. And I don't think she's quite got enough rectangular shape to call her average, so we have her at thin plus, and that is an adjustment of 0. So this cow actually pencils out to 84.3, and it still does get her in the boner category. Dressing percent on this cow, since she still does have a little bit of flesh, you know, it would kind of make me think 48%. However, since she kind of lacks the muscle shape, she's kind of a lighter weight cow, I would have her about 47% dressing percent. So boner cow and 47%. So the other cow in the ring is noticeably smoother, fleshier. You don't see any bone on her. She gets a little lighter flesh as you go up over her shoulders, but she's pretty flat over the top of her back. She's barely starting to put pone fat around her tail head, but she's still pretty smooth, but we thought she had about a quarter back fat. And that is an 82% lean. The reason that I pulled this cow, you know, when we first looked at her, I was thinking, wow, she's kind of got thick muscle shape. But as you watch her walk, when people walk or when cattle walk, that muscle tends to flex. And she just falls off. I mean, it's like there's no muscle there hardly at all. And so I think what we see is a lot more fat than that muscle. We actually called her average minus. I think she does still have enough muscling to get her into that average category. If you look at the smaller cow, She falls off just a little more down at the bottom of her rounds than this bigger cow does, but she's still very rectangular in her shape. So average minus is a plus 0.3. She weighs about 1,300 pounds, and her adjustment is a minus 1.6, and that pencils out to an 80.7. And so we have two cows in the boner category, and one closer to the lean, which like what we expected, and then one that's kind of closer to what a breaker cow would be. She doesn't quite have enough fat in her brisket for us to have bumped her up to a breaker, and I would like to see a little more fat cover over the top of her back before she gets into that breaker category. Dressing percent on this cow. She looks like she's in pretty average fill condition, and with that quarter back fat, I just think she's about a 49% cow. If I thought about bumping her up, it might be for weight, but 1,300 pounds these days on a cow really isn't that much. So about a 49% boner cow. So a 47% boner, low boner, and a 49% higher boner. Anybody have any questions? Everybody going to get 100 or 400 or whatever on cows? Yes. Okay. I think we're ready to start the contest.
All right, this will be animal number 1 in the contest. Any more time? All right, I don't see anybody. If you need a longer look or a better look, raise your hand so we can see. If not, we're going to let this one out and move on to the next animal. This is animal number 2. Anybody need any more time? Got hands on both sides here. Any more time? I think we can let this one out. Animal number 3 in the contest. Any more time? We good over here? All right, anybody else? All right, we can swing the gate on this one. Animal number 4. Any more time? This will be number 5 in the contest. Number 5. Any more time? All right, any longer look for anybody over here? Animal number 6. Any more time? This is number 7. Any more time? This is animal number 8. animal number 8 in the contest. Any more time? This will be number 9 in the contest. Any more time? This is number 10. Any more time? And roll 11. Any more time? All right. I don't see any hands, so if you, number 12. Any more time? we good up here? Any others need any more time? Good. All right. All right, this is animal number 13 and has a weight of 1,300 pounds. Any more time? Any more time? Still got what, one here? Anybody over here? There. We get over here. Animal number 14 has a weight of 1,200 pounds. Animal 14, 1,200 pounds. Any more time? Number 15 in the contest has a weight of 1,250 pounds. 1,250 pounds. Any more time? Got several here on both sides. Any more time? Was that a hand? You've got to raise it high so we can see. I think we're good here. Oh, how about over here? Any more? Over here? All right, let's let it out. Animal 16 has a weight of 1,500 pounds. Number 16, a weight of 1,500 pounds. Any more time? All right. I don't see any hands. If not, we're going to go ahead and let this one out. That was the last animal in the contest. So are we taking up 4-H and just and there's no divisions in FFA, right? Just okay. So we'll take up 4-H cards first. So if you were in 4-H, what we need to do is take and tear the top copy off. You'll need to hand in the white copy. Make sure that the perforated edge is torn off, and do not hand the part that has the circles on it. Tear it off. Pass your cards to the middle section. So if you're on this side, pass it this direction. Over here, pass it. We've got some ag teachers and adults here taking up cards. Taking up 4-H right now. All right. How many do we still have 4-H cards out?
What are you doing at the convention?
I help out with the auction. I have an alumni auction.
Any more 4-H?
Proceeds goes to the alumni.
All right.
It is when it's made for that money will go back to ag teachers' kids.
Going once? Going twice? All right. All 4-H cards should be turned in.
It starts, so we set up on Monday and it's Tuesday, Wednesday.
Are we good? All right. Let's do the same thing. FFA. So pass all the cards to the center. You see where people are collecting them. So
It's a definitely almost a performance. You know, like they try to have it where there's never a dull moment. So there's always something. They have a book that's about this big, goes over the 2 days, to where it's down to half a second.
all right, no, we're going to get it. We're going to run these cattle back through and go over the officials with everybody.
On stage, play music, or such and such happens, or as soon as they walk off stage, turn down the
Oh,
light,
adults. Okay,
whatever it may be.
adults. If you have an adult card, are you collecting? All right.
Smoke and all this other stuff. Like it's a lot of people would say that Oklahoma's FFA convention is better than Michigan convention, the way it is conducted. Kind of made it a monster in a sense. Because if there's like a half a second of nothing, everyone's officially,
I don't remember having a convention when I was.
All right. I think if you guys either if you're leaving, we'll see ya. If not, we're getting ready to run the cattle back through here and go over the officials with everybody. All right, let's quiet down. We're going to bring these calves back through. We'll bring all three of them. Okay, number one in the contest was the kind of the small heifer here in the on the far side. Here, so as I said, she's a feeder heifer. Hopefully everybody kind of picked up on that. She's one that whenever you look at her, especially when you got her in here with these those steers, I mean, if you look at her, I mean, she's got kind of long tail, which shows that she's got some age to her. She's also not the heaviest bone, so some of that's kind of working against her. You look at just kind of her size. I think that she's going to be one. She falls in the medium frame grade, but she's in the lower third of that medium frame grade. I think whenever you look at her, also whenever you kind of get behind her, I think she's kind of going to be. She shows some roundness and curvature. She doesn't have a great deal, but I think that she's got just enough shape and muscling there to get her into the number one grade. So number one was a feeder heifer, medium frame, number one. Number two was the red steer here. I think whenever you look at him, that these kind of the red steers that we all had, I think they probably rode on the trailer, came from the same place. So there's a lot of similarities that we had with these red steers. But he's one that they were all very close between large and medium frame grades, and so some had a little bit more, some didn't, and our grades will reflect that here. But the red steer is one that I think that whenever you look at him, kind of hip height, his length of body, his what he has here today, I think is one that's going to push him. He's going to be probably about 1,270 or so at slaughter. I think putting him just over that into the large frame area. I think you get in behind him and look, he gets fairly rectangular from top to bottom all the way down. I think he's one that is one that kind of in the upper portion or upper third of the number two grade. So number two in the contest was a feeder steer, large frame, number two. Number three was the big Brangus steer. I think he's one that whenever you look at him, like his length of legs, length of body, just knowing that with that Brangus bloodline in there, that's he's going to go whenever he gets out on grain in the yard, he's just going to explode. I think hopefully everybody got him well into the large frame category. Whenever you look at him, that Brahma kind of the muscle shape, which with that breed, it's a little bit different than some of our traditional breeds. But I think that he's one that is going to be one that's in the kind of middle to little higher than the middle part of the number two grade. But still one that whenever you look at him, does not have just a tremendous or a big expression of muscling. So number three was a large frame steer. Number two, muscling. Okay, number 4 should be the red steer here, kind of closest to the rail to everybody. I think that you look at him. I think that how kind of his length of tail should tell you that he's got some age to him. I think he's got a little bit more age than the red one that we just had in the ring. I think this one is also a little bit kind of shorter from his shoulder to his hips. We had him in the medium frame grade. Had him kind of in the upper portion of that. So with that age, with the shorter length of body, I think those are things that work against him. Where the other red steer that we just saw, had a little bit more length of body, a little bit more youthful, that helped push him over. But medium frame grade, I also think that whenever you look at him, he's right there in the top portion of the number 2 grade. There's pretty flat, pretty rectangular whenever you get and see him here on the profile and get in behind him. Number 5 is the Charlet cream-colored looking steer there in the middle. I think whenever you look at those, he's definitely more youthful than the red steer. I think, we know that these Charlet cattle, you look at his bone, he's pretty fairly heavy boned. I think these Charlet cattle, we all know that they're going to grow and get big. I think that he's one that where he's at is definitely going to exceed that 1250. I think he's going to be about 30% up at least into the large frame category. Also one that whenever you get in and behind him and look, hopefully you can see some of that roundness and curvature. I think that with that, I mean, he definitely falls into the about 30 to 40% up into that number 1 muscling category. So number 5 was a feeder steer large frame number 1. Number 6 was the black heifer there in along the rail. We know that with the heifers, they don't have to weigh quite as much, but we still, I mean, whenever you put her in here, get her sandwiched in between or next to either one of these steers, there's definitely a big difference that we can see there with just size, with our length of body, with bone. Hopefully everybody can see that and acknowledge and agree that where she is at now, and then also her tail. She's not the oldest, but she does have some age to her. We think that she's going to be kind of in the lower third of that medium frame grade. She's also one that whenever you look at her, we think that she's right in the middle of the number 2 grade also. I think whenever you look at that, she's just fairly kind of right in the middle of the road, number 2. So number 6 in the contest was a feeder heifer medium frame number 2. All right, number 7 in the contest was the black steer that's got the kind of the green F2 ear tag. I think whenever you look at him, I think he could be I don't know if he's the youngest, but he is one of the youngest ones that of the calves that we had to look at today. I think he's fairly youthful in his appearance. I think whenever you look at him, he from that hips to his shoulders, he has a little bit of that. His hip height is higher than his shoulders. I think that he kind of has all of that going for him. Length of body is there. I think he's another one, kind of like one that we talked about earlier. I think he's probably going to be about that 1280 at time of slaughter, be about 10% up or so into the to the large frame category. Another one, I think if he had a little bit more muscling, large frame would not be in question. But I think that he's one that whenever you look at him, he's one that we have kind of in the upper portion of the number 2 category. Number 8 was the red steer. You look at him. He's one that I think that where we talked him is probably one of the more youthful ones. I think this red steer that we're looking at could be one that is one of our older ones. And, Tina and I, and Brady, whenever we were looking at them this morning, whenever we always say, we look at their tail as a indicator, he's one that, whenever today you can see, he's got his tail there. But you look at that and, if he's running out in some thorn bushes and some blackberries, I don't think, that white portion of that tail there is not going to stick around there very long. And so that's where you've got to look at some other indicators to try and pick out their age. But with that tail today, definitely you can see he's got some age. You look at his head, that muzzle's longer. He's dished out in between those eyeballs. I think that he is one that you get there. I think he is in the upper portion of the medium frame grade just because of his age and maturity. Those are some things that tell us that he's not going to get much taller and bigger before he starts putting on weight. Now, whenever we were looking at his muscling, we think he's kind of one that is right there on the borderline between a number 1 and a number 2. And that's how many of you guys called this a number 2 animal? How many called it a number 1 animal? Well, I think a majority of everybody is going to be happy. We ended up calling this animal a 1-0. We thought that he was right there, just had enough of muscling to get into the number 1 grade. But we did think that he was very, very close, and we did give 7 points if you called this animal a number 2 muscled animal. So number 8 in the contest was a medium frame steer, number 1 muscle, but we did give 7 points if you called him a number 2. Number 9 in the contest is the heifer that we have here. She's one that whenever you look at her, she's probably the tallest and biggest frame of the 3 heifers that we had in the contest. But you look at her, she's pretty fine bone. Still one that I think that she's going to be in the upper third, about 70% up into the medium frame grade. She's got some age to her. She is also the lack of muscling. That's what she's about. Jumping ahead, she's about middle of the road number 2. That's what with the lack of that muscle. And you've got to remember, we're looking at a heifer compared to these steers are weighing. I think those steers are somewhere around 800 pounds. This heifer is a lot less than that. And so, she has got to probably put on at least 5.5 to be able to get into a large frame grade. So I just don't think, and we don't think that whenever you're looking at her bone and her muscling, that she has the ability to get there. I think that she's going to be in that upper portion of the medium frame, and then she's right in the middle of a number 2 animal. So 9 was a heifer, medium frame, number 2. Okay, number 10 in the contest is the black baldy that we have right, well, kind of there in the lead. I think that he is one that another one that is going to kind of fall on the line in between a medium and a large frame animal. So we'll do this one more time. Of how many called this a large frame steer? How many called this a medium frame steer? Well, kind of a half and half with everybody. But what we did, I mean, whenever you look at him, I mean, we agree he's very tough. He's right there on the line. He's one that you look at that tail, look at his head. He's got some age to him. He's one that we ended up in the contest. We fell on the side of a medium frame. We called him a medium 90. We did give 7 points. We do acknowledge that he's very close there. We went back and forth last night and this morning. We did fall in the medium frame, but did give 7 points for a large frame animal. He's one also that with his muscling, we ended up calling him. He was fairly close on that. Also, we thought that whenever you're looking at him from kind of the rear view, he's got some muscling there. But whenever you study him, he carries that muscling. A lot of times we just look at the rear view and the round. We don't look and see how it also carries up over the front shoulders. I think that just rear view alone probably doesn't get him into a 1, but whenever you start looking at him, how he carries that muscling all the way through, I think that helps and adds to it. We ended up as a 110 and having him as a number 1 muscled animal. We did not give any points for a number 2 on him. So number 10 was a feeder steer, medium frame, number 1, with 7 points for a large. Number 11 in the contest was the kind of the Brangus animal there. I think that he is one that I think here he comes kind of right here. This animal right here, he's one that whenever you look at him, he is another one that's fairly youthful. I think as we talked about with the other one that we saw, we know that with the Brangus or Brahma breed, that those animals are going to get some size to them. I think that one is going to be one that exceeds that 1250, easily gets into the large frame category. We thought he was also about 70% up into the number 2 grade. Number 12 was our last animal, was the black steer, another animal here that we thought that fit in the large frame category. And whenever you look at him, and he does not carry that muscling down into that lower stifle region enough for us. We have him about 80% up into the number 2 category. So number 12 was a feeder steer, large frame, number 2. What was 11? So 11 was a feeder steer, large frame, number 2.
Okay, let's quiet down just a little bit. I don't have the same voice power that Jason does. So moving on to our slaughter cow section, from 13 to 16, if you chose feeder, steer, or heifer, then that's minus 10 points there. You should have got slaughter cows. Number 13, let's see, is back tag 9131. So the kind of this slicker, smoother cow, and smoother being, I feel like she's got a little more cover on her. Over her back. She's not quite starting any fat around her tail head, but yet she's still showing that smooth appearance. I think she has about a quarter back fat. Muscle shape on her, we kind of looked twice out in the pens. I thought it appeared a little better, but not enough to get her out of the average category. I think, she's still showing somewhat of a rectangle. It does kind of drop off, making me think she's kind of, slipping down into the thin category. I just don't think she does enough. So, we've called her average minus. But a quarter back fat is 82% lean. We did give you the weight of 1,300 pounds, and that is an adjustment of minus 1.6. Again, we called her average minus, and that's a plus 0.3. So a final of an 80.7, and that does put her into the boner category. As I said earlier, she does have some fat cover to her, and like I said in the school, there's just some enough fat cover there to cover that rigid bone, which describes a boner, and a 49%. On her dressing percent. We didn't make any adjustment for fill. I think she's pretty average in her fill. What was that? 49 was her dressing percent. 49. She's just an average boner cow. So the other cow in the ring, and I failed to mention this in the school. Let's be quiet so everybody can hear. You must do the math on these cows. How many thinks this is a lean cow? Oh, very good. We did see some people using their pencils today. I believe this cow is thinner than the first cow that we talked about here. You do see some rigid bone shape. Her backbone is just starting to stand up. She's really not dished out in her rounds or over her loin shelf enough, but she still is. She's just kind of starting that point. She's starting to show some of her lateral processes. I think the hair on her kind of, makes her appear a little more fleshier than she is, but I've started her at 1,500s. And that is a, let's see, that's an 83.5% lean on her. We had the weight of 1,200 pounds, so that is an adjustment of a minus 0.8. Muscle shape on her is definitely less muscle than the other cow that we just talked about. She does show that triangular shape. That puts her down in the thin category, and we've got her in just an average thin. We tend to leave the thin minus, to our dairy breeds or Longhorn, Coriani, things like that. So we've just got her an average thin, and that's an adjustment of a minus 0.3. and the math works out to an 82.4, and that is still a boner cow. So very good on y'all if you did your math and did get her in the boner category. Dressing percent, because she is lighter fleshed, she's lighter muscled, she won't quite dress as good as the other cow that's standing in the ring, and we've got her at a 47%. So boner cow, 47%. The first one, boner cow, and 49%. Okay, the last two animals in the contest, again, cows. Number 15 was the black cow that we had in the ring. I don't think this cow is quite as fat as the first cow that we had in the contest. I think she just, she does still have some cover. I think she's just a tick less, and we've got her at 2/10 on her back fat. That's a percent lean of 83%. The weight on her was 1,250 pounds. That's an adjustment of a minus 1.2. We kind of felt like she's just right there in the middle of the average muscle shape, and that is an adjustment of a plus 0.7. So her final was an 82.5, right there in the middle of the boner category. I kind of feel like she is a little bit gant. I don't think she would start quite as high as the other cow because she doesn't quite have the fat cover on her as the other cow does. Even though it's just a little tick, we started her at 48, but we did give her 1% for gant and left her at a 49%. So boner cow, 49%. So obviously the last cow in the contest was the biggest cow and also the fattest cow in the contest. She's kind of a little bit of a fooler because when you walk in, you see her rear end, you see her front, you think, to me, she almost looks like she could be the mother of that Charolais steer that we had in here. They kind of look similar, but as you really watch her, I don't know if, I think she does have a lot of muscle, but she's also pretty fleshy as well. Look how much fat she's got around her tail head. She's really starting to put some pone fat on. She's even starting to put the rope on in the back there. She does have, fat in her brisket. She's smooth over her top. So we started her out at 3,500 back fat. That is a 79.5 on her lean. We gave you the weight of 1,500 pounds, so that's an adjustment of a minus 3.2. We did still leave her in the thick category. We've got her thick average. She does still have that pretty good beach ball shape. She carries it up through her shoulders. Just being the breed that she is, we know she's got it there, but, she does still have quite a bit of fat on her. So that thick category is an adjustment of a plus 1.6. That is a 77.9 and does put her in the D breaker category. So we did get a breaker in the contest. Dressing percent on this cow, so, she's got more fat on her. We started at 51%. Now, remember I said, if they're a big cow, she weighs 1,500 pounds, that's going to add to her dressing percent. And because we've got her up in that thick category, that's also going to add to her dressing percent. So we finished at 53% breaker. So the last cow was 53 and a breaker. Number 15 was 49% and a boner. And that completes the contest.